Rage 2 is one title I never expected to see, considering Rage was, while a decent title, not too heavily praised. But nonetheless, here we are in May 2019 and Rage 2 has finally been released. It's an open world post-apocalyptic first-person shooter with RPG elements, which, if you've seen my previous videos, you would know this game is right up my alley. Since its announcement by Walmart Canada in 2018, I've been impatiently waiting to finally get my hands on it. With most reviews for it being mixed, I felt I should add my 2 cents. Is Rage 2 just a decent title, or is it amazing? Maybe it's hot garbage. Here's what I think.
City streets and into this boudoir of pleasure to join our little game, because you have a hunger in your eyes.
The game starts off rather lousy. The opening scene shows the main villains, also known as the Authority, rising up to quote-unquote restore order to the world, which it seems they will do by any means necessary, including killing unmutated humans. They seem to have a prejudice against ARK survivors, seeking them out wherever they are, and taking them back to the Capital Prime for reasons that we find out later in the game. So after the opening scene, you pick your character, which is male or female, and the one you don't choose is coincidentally blown to bits, and thus you go out and begin your fight with the Authority. You find your ranger suit and fight your way to your mentor, Erwina Prowley. Anyway, to me this prologue was just not my cup of tea. It felt almost like it wasn't produced by a development team that's been around long enough. That's not to say it was awful, but it just felt like it wasn't up to par with Avalanche's, nor id's, nor Bethesda's AAA budgets. It was okay, just in my opinion, wasn't engaging enough to set a good first impression. After all of this, you were given these highly coincidental pre-recorded missions by a dead person, and you finally get to explore the open world. And after a good 30 minutes to an hour of playing, I was starting to finally see the potential in the game. The gunplay is pretty cool, the action is high octane, and the gore is pretty satisfying. It feels like a mixture of Doom meets Rage 1, which, duh, makes total sense. Doom's gameplay meets Rage's world. In other words, it feels very arcadey, yet not so. I'd say carnage is an accurate word for the game. There is relentless gunfire at all times and explosions in every which direction, whether it be grenades, rocket launchers, exploding barrels and vehicles, or even bombs strapped to bad guys. And if you listen with headphones or surround sound, your body will shake with the rumble of high velocity carnage. You can tell this game was designed to keep the player engaged with fast-paced, brutal action. I've yet to run out of ammunition, with an exception for the BFG, and I've yet to get bored past the first hour of the game. In the game, you get access to tons of different skills and abilities. For each of the 3 main characters you're set out to find, each unlocks their own unique skill trees, or as the game calls it, projects. You use project points to upgrade them, which can be earned by completing specific missions and clearing out bandit or mutant camps, which the world is filled with. Then there's the weapons, which you use a resource called Feltrite to unlock new tiers of upgrades. Then you use weapon mods to purchase said upgrades. Each weapon has about 4 to 5 tiers, and your main vehicle, the Phoenix, can also be upgraded with auto parts. You get nanorights, or abilities such as shatter, grab jump, slam, etc., which can be unlocked by discovering arcs and then upgraded using the nanorite boosters. These abilities can also be upgraded using Feltrite. You can upgrade your inventory items such as your wing stick, grenades, turret drone, and your health, overdrive, and ability infusions. And finally, you can also augment yourself by visiting a cyber doctor, assuming that you have the appropriate resources. Augmentations include higher weapon damage, more defense, and more health. So with all these different things that can be upgraded, personally I'm in heaven. There's tons of places to discover, and each place with enemies have their own difficulties and chests, storage containers, data pads, etc. that you can discover as ways to complete the location. But I can't tell you how much time I've spent looking for these items. I've run around the same location for an hour and still in certain areas could not find the last chest or data pad. It's frustrating, but at the same time, being a completionist, once you find the item, it can be satisfying. Although I feel dumb because it turns out there are actually abilities that you unlock that will actually help you find these items. While we're on the topic of location, Mutant Bash TV is probably one of the best features in the game. It's just so fun to blast through enemies in an arcade/Doom style arena. The more abilities you have, the more points and bonuses you can earn, which you can then use to unlock special skins and customization items. One thing I will say though is the game is not as challenging as I expected. I started on normal difficulty and found found it too easy, so I switched to hard, and it still isn't too difficult. Though I've been close to dying a couple times, especially when it comes to clearing out the mutant breeding grounds. Also, I've still got quite a lot to do in the game, so I'm sure it'll get harder. The vehicle combat takes a while to get used to, and honestly I haven't done much of it. I much rather prefer fighting on foot than in a vehicle regardless of which game I'm playing. But I will say I wish the vehicle play was a little more satisfying, especially since it's a game where the gameplay is so heavily focused on gunplay and vehicle play. One thing that's pretty cool is the reintroduction to cheat codes. I haven't used any cheats yet, but I will say it's pretty cool to see a game finally reintroduce cheat codes. Then there's the story. The story is very mediocre at best. While I really enjoy the humor in the game, there's just something about its directive that feels so unsatisfying. Most modern games have nailed down a good combination of narrative storytelling and gameplay dialogue, but when it comes to Rage 2, it just lacks. Which, however, is forgivable because the characters, the gritty, grotesque world, and the environments are just so perfect. I've always been a fan of dark, unusual storytelling and detail, so while its lack of narrative perfection breaks the immersion, it stays interesting due to its unique, morbid world. Overall, the game isn't quite what I expected, but I'm still having a lot of fun. I've become quite the fan of fast-paced FPS games, and especially when they have skills to unlock. While I think Avalanche did a good job with id, I just wish Machine Games, the people behind the newer Wolfenstein games, had a hand in it. I feel like they have developed a perfect blend of gory first-person action and narrative storytelling. If only they had experience with open-world games. But anyway, personally I'd give this game a 7.5 out of 10 for being a decent-looking game set in a beautiful, unique open world with highly satisfying combat, carnage, and upgrades, yet a lack of good storytelling despite its amazing humor bits.
Oh, hell no! You totally ripped off my goddamn ensemble!
This ends now. I want you to drop those clothes and burn them right here. You hear me, bro?
I will not! If any fucking one is gonna drop any fucking thing, it's you, who should fucking drop your pants and shoes and shit or piss on the
Cross
street.
line you don't want to cross, buddy.
That thing's not helping. That robot lane is yesterday's news, buddy. No!
Dropped. Damn it. Didn't wanna. Well, now he's dropped. Maybe just...
I would gladly recommend it. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, please like and subscribe, as I plan on releasing more gaming related videos in the future. That being said, all constructive criticism is greatly appreciated, as well as video recommendations. Thank you and much love. Peace.